and welcome by the BYOU podcast. In this podcast, I talk with the greatest people from all around the world. And today, I have a very, very special guest who has changed her whole life because she has sadly experienced in her life. And now, for her, it's time to heal others with her amazing gifts. And I cannot wait to share with you Kate Lunsford because she has been through some very traumatical experience. Her life changes when she used Reiki, yoga. She studied psychology for now to help others. And now she's dedicated her life to guide people towards physical, emotional, and spiritual wellness. Let's welcome you to share her incredible journey with us. Kate!
Hi! Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so grateful. What an inspiring story, and so sad about what you have been through, that life brought you to the ground. And yeah, tell me who you are and tell me, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say I officially started my spiritual healing journey in 2021, right after COVID. COVID changed a lot. I know it changed a lot for everybody on the individual and collective level, where the world was not what it used to be. And that happened to me on a very individual level, where everything that I thought was working was no longer working. So I needed to reset, refocus with a different baseline and a different foundation that was not rooted in codependency, but rooted in me and in tune with what my needs were. And so that's where it all started.
Wow. So it started during COVID. And what was the eye opener for you? Like, okay, now I need to do something.
So I was in a relationship and that ended up not working out. And so I ended up moving, and then I had to move again because the place where I was going to stay was no longer an option. And then I ended up moving again. And so things were super, super shifty in terms of all of the just life changes that I had to navigate. And I needed a stronger foundation because what I was basing all of my decisions on were, what are other people going to think of me? What's best for other people? How can I best serve other people without thinking of myself? So I really had to change that and put myself first so that I could be who I needed to be, because then I can fully be there and fully be present for others. As someone who struggled with codependency for as long as I can remember, it's not easy and it's not fun when your life revolves around other people. So when you can switch that up and have yourself be put first, then you can really be there for others in the way that you want to be, not the way that you feel like you need to be.
Yeah. And what was a turning point? Because I recognize it myself, that people pleasing and do everything for others and then put yourself on, I don't know, on place 7. What was the exact moment where you thought, okay, now it is enough. Now I just put myself first, even if all the opinions of others, even if people don't like it, because then you will hear people say, oh, you're so selfish. No. What was for you this turning point of not people pleasing anymore?
I didn't want to feel bad anymore. I was tired of feeling sad and tired of feeling anxious and tired of just feeling like I was never going to be good enough. And I was so tired of feeling down. It's like what I'm doing is not working. It's not making me feel better. I'm trying to do all of the things, trying to do all of the quick fixes, and they just were not working. So I had to put in the time and effort of finding the right therapist, which could sometimes be a process, building up my support team and telling my support team what I needed and just not expecting for them to know what I needed. Like my parents and my siblings, my sister especially. friends and all of that. So I got to a point where I was tired of feeling down, tired of feeling sad, tired of not feeling enough. And it's kind of funny. I was still in the past relationship, and we were living together, and I would take my dogs for walks, and I started to see feathers everywhere. Everywhere I went, feathers were everywhere. And I every time I saw one, I just would feel, I was like, something's going to change. It's going to be a big change. And one night I was scrolling on TikTok, and someone came up and said, if you say this affirmation out loud, like, expect big changes. I don't remember what the affirmation was, but I knew as soon as I said it out loud, my relationship was going to end. Things were going to be very, very different. And that's exactly what happened. So there were just little guiding ways that the universe sort of set that up. And I still see feathers everywhere. I love finding feathers. They're such a sign to me from spirit that, like, you're on the right path, you're doing the right thing, we're right there with you, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah. How did you, find that those are the signs? Because it's a kind of spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of an intuitive feeling. It was like I remember being on the walk with my dog, and we had turned a corner and there were feathers everywhere on the road. I was like, okay, like, that's not just a coincidence. Like, somebody put those feathers there. And
it's a kind of spiritual awakening to see, like, oh, this is from the universe, or this is a sign.
Yeah.
How do you know? Yeah, how do you know?
I Googled it. I was like, what do feathers mean? And I started looking more into astrology and trying to understand what my signs were and what those meant, which led me towards the tarot cards and the crystals and the reiki, and the pendulum that I have. So I use sage, and I did protection, and I started meditating, and I started doing all of the things that that people tell you to do, but sometimes you do it just because you think it's what you're supposed to be doing. But now I was doing it because I actually really wanted to, and I wanted to feel the impact of it, for me, doing it for me and not doing it for somebody else. Because, when you're in a group and you have people and everyone tries to help, they try to put in their 2 cents, and you're like, well, maybe I'll try that, or maybe I'll try that because that worked for that person. But what worked for somebody else might not be what's going to work for you. So you do have to kind of experiment and see and follow your heart. Trust your gut. Your gut is going to tell you the right way to go. That's something that my mom has said for a very, very long time. Trust your gut, trust your intuition, which sometimes can be hard because we're not easily trusting in ourselves, but focus on the feelings and focus on the self-trust.
I find it so fascinating about trusting your gut. And sometimes we have all those thoughts in our head. Sometimes it's so difficult, especially if we are in those hard moments. What is your mind and what is your gut? How do you find the answer?
So I was really fascinated by the ego, because that's talked about in psychology, and then in terms of spiritually, it's a little bit different, but very similar. So we have our ego, which is our biggest protector. It's our biggest. It's not going to put us in situations that have previously hurt us. So learning when it was my ego talking versus when it was my heart talking was a bit of a process. I had to, one day I was like, okay, I'm going to follow this voice. And the next day I'm going to follow this voice. And based on how those days went, helped me figure out which voice was what. Because sometimes it gets so muddled, anxiety and overwhelming thoughts, and the thought train just goes and goes and goes. So that was what was helpful. And I ended up building a relationship with my ego where I now like my ego. My ego isn't a bad thing. It's just this alert system that's like, hey, last time you did this happened, or hey, this may not be best for you based off of this past experience. And I get to tell my ego, it's okay. This is just something new. Just because it's new doesn't mean it has to be scary. Doesn't mean it's going to have the same result as it did last time. I feel stronger now. I feel better now. I appreciate your input. I'll take it into consideration, but I'm still going to do what my heart wants me to do.
Wow, this is so
Building that relationship is important.
this is so powerful. And for example, if someone just wants to start it out to appreciate, to love their ego, how can they do this?
Just for me, I like to talk out loud or in my head to the different parts of me. So just open that line of communication. When you want to hear your ego, sit there in a quiet space, have some music if you want to, but no major distractions around. Be like, hey, ego, like, what's up? Like, why are we still staying stuck here in this moment when it's better for me not to be in this moment, when it's better for me to do the thing that I'm afraid of because I know the result will be better. Just talk to your ego. It wants a voice, it wants to be heard, and it feels like it's not getting heard, which is why it's so like do this, focus on this, when it just wants your attention. So give it that little bit of attention, acknowledge that it's there, be like, you know what, I hear you, but I'm still going to do this other thing that I think is going to be better for me in the long run, even if I have to make some changes and make some decisions that may hurt a little bit. Ending a relationship, choosing to move, putting up boundaries with family members or people or anyone. In the long run, those are better choices to make than staying where you are, if where you are is in pain.
Yeah. And when you are caught up, for example, at night and all those thoughts are coming up, how do you heal this? And sometimes when you're just caught up with all those negative thoughts, how can you come out of that? Because sometimes those negative thoughts feel so real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not always easy. It's going to be hard. So you have to be willing to put yourself in those hard places temporarily, knowing that it's temporary. When we have the overwhelming thoughts and the negative spirals and all of that, first we have to be able to acknowledge that that's what we're in. We have to say, hey, I'm noticing I keep thinking this really awful thing that I really don't want to be thinking, because we're on autopilot 98.999% of the time. We're doing what we've been taught, whether consciously or unconsciously, just the way that society's built, culturally, our family unit. We're just running on autopilot. And we have to be able to recognize that that's what we're doing. And then we have to give those thought spirals space. We have to be like, hey, okay, I'm going to give you this time to have this little spiral, have your little tantrum, do what you got to do. And then we're done. And then we're done. And no more.
Oh, wow. I love that you
spiral, yeah, it has to, it's there for a reason, and it wants to be seen, and it wants to be heard, and it wants to have a voice. And you can be very specific with how and when that happens. For me, sometimes it's the shower. Sometimes I'm like, if you need to have a good cry, the shower is a great place to have a good cry. I remember one time I was driving, and all of a sudden I was overwhelmed and I just wanted to start crying. And I talked to my mentor at the time, and she was like, tell your emotions that now's not the right time. Be like, hey, I can't do it right now, but I will schedule a time for you, and I will get back to you. But right now in this moment, I can't do that. So that was enough. So I was like, okay. I told myself the next time I'm in the shower, I'm going to let you come up, and I'm going to scream, I'm going to cry, I'm going to punch a pillow, I'm going to do what I need to do to safely get these feelings out. And then I'm done. And then we're done.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just so impressed. Like, it is so true, because you still give it a voice, you still see it, and you don't push it away. You just push it away for a moment because you are in this, maybe in this moment, maybe you are at your job, or maybe you at a podcast, and you need to, wow. Never, never.
We have so much more power than we think we do. Because we have the different parts of ourselves that are like our ego, and then our inner child, our inner teenager, our inner adult, our higher self. All of those are kind of battling for our attention, and we get to decide the who, what, when, where, why, and how of each parts of ourselves when they're expressed. You have to sort of take yourself back, zoom out a little bit, see what's in front of you, be like, okay, this ego problem, I'm going to take care of you at 5 p.m. when I don't have this thing going on, and when I can sit with you and you can journal, you can meditate, you can talk out loud, you can type in your phone, there's many different ways to get it out instead of, and I personally don't like to sit in silence and have it all go on in my head. I would rather talk out loud or journal. That way it's not staying up in here. It's actually, you're using your body to get it out through your voice, through your mouth, through your hands, through yoga, through breath work. Any of those are all great tools for that.
So, wow. So what I find so fascinating is now lately in this, I don't know, Gen Z area, we need to listen to our thoughts, we need to feel. But what you say is so much stronger. You really take leadership of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and then put it at a time when you can.
Mm-hmm.
I found it so much better than just, when you feel it. No, it has its own timing and you still see it, but it don't have to be like everywhere.
Nope.
No, I find it so much more stronger, more power over yourself, and wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, amazing. So cool. Very helpful. Yeah. So, and in your business that you are building now, Healing with Kate, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the most powerful moments where you help someone? Like, oh, wow, for me, this was so impressive. It helped her so this and this way. Can you share a moment
Yeah.
how you changed someone's life?
I would say 70% of the time, maybe even more like 80% of the time, I'm just confirming what people already know within themselves. They're just getting that extra confirmation from a third party. They're like, yeah, my feelings about that were right. I just needed somebody else to tell me that I'm doing the right thing. Oftentimes, whether it's I'm just channeling or I'm pulling cards for somebody, they already know the answer within themselves, as we all do, but sometimes we need somebody else to point it out. So having that extra confirmation is amazing, because they're like, yes, okay, so I was feeling the right way about this, or I am making the right choice. And a lot of it comes back to self-trust, building that self-trust within yourself, that you have all the answers, that you know what's best for you. Those are always the best sessions, where it's light bulb moments going off everywhere, because they're realizing, okay, I'm actually okay. I'm actually doing the right things. I'm actually in a better spot than I thought I was. I have more control over my life than I thought that I did.
Wow. And what is it that we already know the answer, but when we have a therapist and they say the exact thing, what is that? What is it? Share with me. Why do we sometimes need that external? Yes, you do. What is it? I find it so fascinating.
I think it's kind of the way society is built, where for women especially, having self-trust was not always seen as a good quality, because we always needed somebody else to take care of us. We always needed our father or our husband or our uncle or whoever to make the decisions for us. So over time, we've lost that skill of self-trust and knowing that we know what's right for us. So when we can, that sort of goes back to the codependency struggles, which is like a lack of self-trust, putting other people before ourselves, the people-pleasing behaviors. So it all comes back to that. And when we can take ourselves out of that situation and see it from a third-party perspective, it's often easier to see what's right in front of us.
Yeah. And I think it's also very helpful if you have a therapist who say you do actually writing, and especially if it is a couple of times, so it becomes like you get used to it that you are doing the right thing, not
Yeah.
just once or two or twice. No, it needs to be, I think, consistent. So your brain think, oh no, I do the right thing. It's already has been done before. I already do the right thing before, and it's like your brain knows about, oh, I do the right thing. I do the right thing. So
Mhm.
yeah, fascinating.
Having somebody in your support system who is non-judgmental and just holding space for you to process how you need to process, because it's when you have a therapist or a mentor or you're working with a healer, they're not the ones healing you. You're the one who's doing the healing. They've just opened the door, created the space for the healing to happen. That's, at the end of the day, that's what we as humans do for each other. We can hold space for each other. We can let the other person sit with their feelings in a non-judgmental way, full of love, and we feel better. And that's what I bring to my sessions. That's what I want all of my clients to feel. That's what everyone who I connect with, I want them to feel, that they can be who they are, regardless of whoever in the past told them that they couldn't be that. They're safe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And how can they find you? Like, how can they have you as a support?
Yeah.
How can they have you?
Instagram, Facebook. I'm working on TikTok. I'm getting ready to do a YouTube channel as well. But Instagram and Facebook are the biggest ones. At Healing with Kate. That's me.
And of course, they can book.
BU, yep, on BU, on their app, yep, on the platform. All of
Excited!
that.
Oh my gosh, you're so many. I'm so excited. Yeah, so I just love that you share this story with me, because I get to know you way better, and the things you share with me is so different than all the other therapy sessions that I actually had. And I was a child therapist myself and psychotherapist, and it was always we used the internal world of a child. It was more of a child, but and the more you have success moments, things like, okay, I can do it. And especially now with you, if you have a coach, and they say, yeah, you heal yourself, but I'm just saying that you are doing the right thing because you already know it. Yeah, it's beautiful. And also what you mentioned about not now, because we don't always have the moment or the situation where we can just cry. Now we need to have our own life in our hands, and not just. I find it so powerful, especially this moment. And last week I spoke with someone, and he couldn't be on his own, and he was running away, finding addictions.
Yeah.
Not being with yourself because you have all those thoughts.
Mhm.
And I find it so interesting about what you shared about it will help him so much if he just take ownership of his life, of his thoughts. Like, not now, it will be some time,
Mhm.
but being with yourself and actually take control of all those thoughts, of all those, and not just going into women or into whatever. Like,
Mhm.
I will share this podcast with him. I will share this with him. He needs to hear this. This is so interesting, and then I will also share your BU profile to book a session with you, because you are so needed. And also for the older people, they are used to walking away, especially men. Like, they need to be so strong. They need to be, and they need to be strong, because I find that men become like women lately, and if they have more ownership about their thoughts, about their behavior, I think the mental health for those men will be way better if
Yeah.
they take ownership of their thoughts and not walking away or not going into seductions or
Mhm.
yeah. Wow.
We definitely need to take ownership as an individual on our thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that's been helpful for me as well is knowing that nobody else can make me feel a certain way, because I'm the one who's in charge of my own feelings. If you upset me in some way, that's you letting me know maybe we're not a good match. So I'm going to put some boundaries up and be more aware of how I'm going to be when I'm around you, or maybe I'm going to choose not to be around you. But I'm the one who's in control, and we're so quick to give up our control because we want to help others feel better. We don't trust ourselves, so we're looking to other people. But when you can sit there and be like, nope, I'm going to be this way. I'm going to think these things. I'm going to have these feelings. I'm going to be who I am. And if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. Because that's another, you're just communicating to me that we're not going to be a good match. And that's okay. And being okay with that.
Wow. Yeah. And do you also help men? Because I think you are so much powerful and helpful to give them the opportunity to just put this thought just for a moment, but they need to come back. Otherwise, they just keep
Yes.
walking away for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you book a session with me, that can be your place where you've scheduled to process your feelings.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's helpful to do that with somebody else, whether it's a family, whether it's a loved one or a therapist, or but if you say you have a big ball of emotions coming up, be like, nope, I can't do it. I have to wait until I have my appointment with my therapist. I have to wait until I do this before I can process and these feelings. And that is also why I think I had the seizures start, is because I had never scheduled that time to process what I needed to. So my body took over and was like, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important that you make time to process what you need to. And you might not be fully aware of what you need to process until you sit down and either alone or with somebody, journaling, meditating. And meditating can be sitting and coloring. Meditating can be going for a walk. It doesn't have to be you're going to sit in silence. And obviously that is a way to do it, but that's not the only way to meditate. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah, what I find about meditating, um, my friends always tell me I need to meditate, but I cannot make time for that. And what I do with meditating is like going to nature, have a walk, and that is my kind of meditating. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to share it. That meditating is not just sitting and
Mm.
close your eyes. No, it can be different things, or painting, or yeah.
It can be practicing yoga. It can be playing with your dogs. It
Yeah.
can be anything, any activity or action where you're fully focused on what you're doing. You're meditating. You're in the moment. You're there and you're present. That's meditating, and that's where you can allow your body to do what it needs to do. You dancing around your home can be a form of meditating if you like to be more physical. Painting, reading. When I go get my hair done, the stylist said that whenever she's washing somebody's hair, that's like her form of meditation, because she's just there, she's in the moment, and she's present with the person in front of her and with herself. And that's as simple as that.
Yeah, amazing. And is there something you would like to share to wrap this podcast up? Is it something you
My
really?
whole, at the end of the day, my motto is healing for sustainable wellness and wholeness. Because the whole point is for it to be sustainable. The whole point is for it to be something that's a part of our daily life, where we can wake up in the morning and we can feel energized, we can feel happy. We don't feel like a split person where we've got to go to work and give our energy to this person, and then we've got family, so we have to give our energy to that person. When we can set up those boundaries, we can have that self-trust, know that we are the ones who are in control of our life. We can feel well and we can feel whole, which is why we're here on this human planet having this human experience.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts. And yeah, if you would like to know more about Kate, please check the description box below for all her social accounts, and definitely book a session with her, because she can really help you feel way better. Thank you so much, Kate.